The note was tucked under the chrome mirror of the toughest-looking motorcycle on the street, a jet-black Harley-Davidson Fat Boy with a Hell's Angels logo shining on its tank. Jake, Reaper, Morrison came back from the diner and found a small piece of paper covered in neat, childish handwriting. Before we continue, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell in the comments where you're watching from. The note read, "Dear Motorcycle Man, I think bad men are hurting my teacher. She has bruises and she's scared. Nobody believes me because I'm just a kid, but I notice things. Please help Miss Sarah. She's nice and doesn't deserve to be scared. From Emma, age 8. P.S. I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to touch her bike. It's very cool." Jake read the note 3 times while standing in the parking lot of Ruby's Diner in Ridgemont, Montana. His rough hands, scarred from years of fixing bikes, bar fights, and a past he didn't like to think about, held the paper gently as if it might tear. "Reaper, you good?" his brother-in-arms, Tommy Wrench Collins, asked as he stepped out of the diner with 2 coffees. One look at Jake's face, and his relaxed expression changed instantly. Wrench read the note, jaw tightening. At 45, with 20 years in the club, he knew kids didn't usually turn to men like them for help. "Kid wrote this?" he asked. "Left on my bike," Jake said. "Could be nothing. Kids imagine things." "Could be," Jake agreed, but his gut told him otherwise. Likely a little girl watching something real and terrifying, with no adult willing to listen. Wrench watched him silently. Jake had been helping run the club's legal businesses for 2 years now, but the shadows of his old life never fully left him. Former Army Ranger, former enforcer, former too many things that still haunted him. "What do you want to do?" Wrench asked. Jake looked at Ridgemont Elementary School across the street. A slim, dark-haired woman stood outside, watching the last kids get picked up. Even from far away, Jake saw the tension in her posture, like someone always bracing for the next hit. "I want to find out who Miss Sarah is," Jake said quietly. "And I want to know if that kid is telling the truth." Sarah Mitchell was exhausted in a way that went beyond lack of sleep. She stood outside the school, trying to ignore the ache in her ribs from where Marcus had shoved her into the counter the night before. She told herself it was an accident, but the bruises and her constant flinching said otherwise. "Miss Mitchell." Emma Rodriguez appeared beside her, looking serious. "Are you okay?" "Of course," Sarah said with a strained smile. "Why? You're holding your side like it hurts." Sarah dropped her hand quickly. "I'm Fina, just sore from yoga." Emma didn't look convinced, but her mother arrived, and she left with a worried glance. Sarah's phone buzzed. "Marcus, where are you? Dinner better be ready when I get home." Her hand shook as she replied. She didn't notice the 2 men on motorcycles watching her from across the street. Jake followed Sarah home, keeping distance between his Harley and her small Toyota. Wrench rode alongside him, studying the area with a trained eye. Sarah lived in a small, tidy house on the edge of town, peaceful on the outside, hiding trouble on the inside. They parked 2 blocks away and walked back quietly. Through the kitchen window, they saw Sarah cooking with nervous, hurried movements. Then a man entered, tall, broad, dressed for an office job. He said something that made her tense, and then he moved closer, cornering her against the counter. She tried to step away, and he grabbed her arm roughly. Jake swore under his breath. When she came back into view, she was holding her wrist and wiping her tears while the man sat down calmly, as if nothing had happened. Jake's fists clenched. Wrench's jaw tightened. "Cops," Wrench whispered, "and tell them we were watching her house." Jake muttered. She denied anyway. "So what do we do?" Jake thought about the little girl who trusted strangers more than the adults in her life. "We watch," he said. "We gather proof. Enough so she can't deny it, and he can't escape it. He pulled out his phone to record. And then we make sure he never touches her again. For the next 4 days, Jake and Wrench kept track of everything, becoming shadows around Sarah's life. 17 incidents. 3 times he grabbed her hard enough to leave bruises. Jake hated watching pain he couldn't stop yet, but he knew patience could save lives. That moment finally came on Friday when Emma walked up to Jake's bike again, braver this time. "Are you going to help her?" she asked, clutching her backpack. Jake crouched to her level. "You wrote the note, right?" Emma nodded. "Miss Mitchell is worse today. She wore a turtleneck even though it's warm, and her hand was shaking when she wrote on the board." Jake felt something twist in his chest. Covering bruises, he said softly. Emma nodded again, eyes full of tears. "I told the principal, but she didn't believe me. My mom didn't either. But I'm not lying. I noticed things." Jake's voice gentled. "I believe you. You're brave. You did the right thing. Will you help her?" Emma whispered. "Please." Jake looked at Wrench, who nodded once. "Yeah," Jake said, "but you need to stay away from her house. If something scares you, tell your parents. No trying to be a hero, okay? But you're going to be a hero," she said. Jake gave a rough laugh. "Kid, I'm not much of a hero, but sometimes you just can't ignore someone who needs help." Emma hugged him quickly. "Thank you, motorcycle man," she said before running off. Wrench stepped up beside him. "So what's the plan?" Jake kept looking after Emma. "The plan is we stop watching and start acting tonight." Sarah felt something was wrong the moment Marcus came home. Face red, eyes unfocused, the smell of alcohol on him. "Dinner ready?" he snapped. "Almost, just 5 more minutes," she answered. "I said I wanted dinner when I got home." "I know, I'm sorry." "Traffic, excuses," he growled, stepping into the kitchen, and Sarah felt her heart start to race because she knew exactly what came next. "Marcus, please just let me finish cooking," Sarah begged, but he stepped closer with anger twisting his face. "Maybe I don't want dinner. Maybe I just want you to stop being so useless." His hand shot out and clamped around her wrist so hard she gasped. "Marcus, you're hurting me." "Good," he hissed, tightening his grip until the doorbell suddenly rang. Both of them froze. Marcus loosened his hold a little. "You expecting someone?" "No, Sarah whispered." The bell rang again, followed by loud, firm knocking. Marcus marched toward the door, annoyed. Sarah followed behind him, fear prickling under her skin. Through the window, she saw 2 large men in leather vests, covered in tattoos. Marcus cracked the door open. "Can I help you?" The taller man, dark-haired with a jagged scar along his jaw, gave a smile so cold it made Sarah's stomach drop. "Marcus Weber," he said calmly. "My name is Jake Morrison. This is Tommy Collins. We're here about what's been happening with Miss Mitchell." Marcus's confusion dissolved into anger. "I don't know what you're talking about. Get off my property." Jake didn't move an inch. "Here's the thing. We've been watching your house for 4 days. We've documented 17 incidents where you put your hands on her, and tonight you were about to hurt her again." Sarah felt her blood go cold. They had watched everything. Marcus's face turned red. "That's harassment. I'm calling the cops." "Please do," Tommy said, pulling out his phone. "We've got video, photos, timestamps, and a statement from a concerned student. Police will be very interested." Marcus tried to slam the door, but Jake blocked it with his boot. "You're going to step outside, away from Miss Mitchell, and listen. Then you're going to make the smartest choice of your life." "Or what?" Marcus spat. "We already sent everything to the police, the school board, and Miss Mitchell's family," Jake said calmly. "So you can talk like a grown man or deal with the consequences." Marcus stepped outside, dragging the door mostly closed. Sarah, Jake called gently through the gap. Lock the door. Call friend. You're safe. With shaking hands, she locked it and backed away. Through the window, she watched the men talking in the driveway. After 20 tense minutes, Marcus stormed to his car, got in, and drove away without a word. Jake knocked softly on the door. Miss Mitchell, it's safe now. Can we talk? Sarah opened it slowly. Up close, Jake Morrison was even more intimidating. Tall, broad, tattooed, but his eyes were warm and steady. Are you hurt? Do you need a doctor? No, not badly, Sarah whispered, overwhelmed. Who are you? Why were you watching my house? A little girl named Emma left a note on my bike, Jake explained. She said she thought someone was hurting her teacher and asked me to help. So we did. Sarah's knees buckled and she sank onto the floor, crying. Emma. Emma Rodriguez. She noticed. Tommy crouched, keeping space between them. She was right to worry. He's gone now, Jake added. We showed him what we recorded. We made it clear that if he ever comes back, everyone will know exactly what he did, and he'll have to deal with us. Sarah looked up, shaken. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. And you're Hell's Angels? Jake finished with a small nod. Yeah, we're not exactly the people most folks call for help. But an 8-year-old girl saw something wrong and asked us to step in. We don't walk away from that. He handed her Emma's note. The sight of the small, messy handwriting full of worry broke something inside her. I should have left him months ago, she whispered. It's not your fault, Tommy said gently. Abuse is never the victim's fault. You lived through it. That's strength. Jake held out his hand to help her up. Let us get you connected with support. Legal help, shelters, counseling. You're not alone now. Sarah took his hand. Why do you care? Really? Jake hesitated, then said quietly, I grew up watching my father hurt my mother. When she finally left, it saved her. I promised myself I'd help other women escape if I ever had the chance. Tommy added, and honestly, Emma guilt tripped us into it. You don't ignore a kid brave enough to walk up to a biker gang. Sarah surprised herself by laughing through her tears. She really is something special. So are you? Jake said gently. Emma clearly adores you. You deserve to be safe. 3 months later, Sarah stood outside the school at dismissal, calm and smiling instead of flinching at every sound. Marcus had moved out of state, pushed by the evidence Jake sent to his employer. The divorce was final. She was in therapy and healing. Emma ran up excitedly with a paper. Miss Mitchell, I got 100 on my spelling test. That's wonderful, Sarah said, hugging her. I'm proud of you. I practiced a lot. Jake said noticing small things matters. Sarah looked toward the road, where Jake sat on his Harley. He comes by to check on us, Emma said casually. Mom says he's making sure we're safe. Sarah's heart softened. Jake had helped her with everything, finding legal aid, moving to a safer apartment, rebuilding her life. After Emma ran to her mother's car, Sarah walked over to Jake. Hey, she said softly. His face brightened. Hey, how are you? Better. Actually, good. She tucked her hair behind her ear. Thank you for helping, for believing Emma when no one else did. You're not a stranger anymore, Jake said. They stood quietly together until Sarah gathered her courage. There's a teacher's appreciation dinner next Friday. Would you come with me? Jake blinked, surprised. Are you sure? I'm not exactly PDA material. You're hero material, Sarah said with a small smile. To me and to Emma. Jake's smile grew warm. Then I'd be honored. 6 months later, Emma stood proudly in front of her class for show and tell, holding a photo of Jake on his motorcycle with Sarah beside him. This is my friend Jake, she said. He looks scary, but he's actually really nice. Last year, I noticed my teacher was being hurt. No adults believed me, but Jake did. He helped her get safe. She lifted her chin proudly. He says heroes come in all sizes. I think that's true. I was little, but I made a difference. After school, Emma ran to Jake. I told him you're a hero. Jake chuckled. Kid, I'm not a hero. I just paid attention. That's what heroes do, Emma insisted. They notice things. They believe people. Jake knelt beside her. You're right. And you're the real hero here. You spoke up. You helped save your teacher. We save her together, Emma corrected. Sarah walked over, and Jake greeted her with a kiss that made Emma giggle. Ready to go home? Sarah asked. Yeah, Jake said, taking her hand. Let's go. As Emma skipped ahead, Jake looked at Sarah and said softly, Funny thing, I came here for business. Never thought I'd find a reason to stay. But now, I can't imagine leaving. He squeezed her hand, all because a brave little girl left a note on my bike. Sarah smiled. Best note ever written. In the parking lot, Emma climbed into the back seat, excitedly talking about her field trip. Jake and Sarah shared a look filled with gratitude and love, amazed at how everything had changed because one child refused to stay silent and one stranger chose to listen. Sometimes heroes truly come from the most unexpected places.